Hey, everybody, I'm Scott Weichel. You're listening to My Kind of Country. It is always a pleasure to have a return guest on the show. And this lady tonight is the newest member of the Grand Ole Opry. She's a Grammy Award winner, and Wall Street Journal named her the Queen of Bluegrass. It's a pleasure to have her on the show tonight. It's a great pleasure to welcome Rhonda Vincent. Rhonda, how are you tonight?
Well, I am wonderful. Thank you so very much, and I love it when you say the newest member of the Grand Ole Opry. Could you say like a couple more times?
You are the newest member of the Grand Ole Opry. I was so excited to watch that, and I was just thrilled that it was Jeannie Seeley that was there to extend that invitation to you. She is such a great lady.
Jeannie is the best, and I mean, I was floored. I was so shocked. I had pretty much came to peace that I would probably never be a member of the Grand Ole Opry. So when she said that, I said, "Are you serious?" I couldn't really register this in my mind that that's what she was saying. So excited, and unfortunately the ceremony, the induction ceremony, has been postponed. And do you know, people think because the induction is postponed that I won't be a member, and it's like, tell me that's not true. I got a wonderful note from the Opry that said, we're going to send your membership card. It's like, membership card? Who knew I get a membership card?
That's cool. I love it. I love it. Well, I
Me
watched
too.
I watched the Opry last Saturday when they did the show, the broadcast without the audience, and I'll tell you, it was such a neat ambiance. I thought, obviously you can't do that all the time, but I thought, man, this is really cool.
I did too. We were watching here in Missouri also. We just moved to the Lake of the Ozarks last September. So we were here watching, and I would text Connie Smith, 'cause I said, man, that was amazing, and the performance was amazing, but she said it was really eerie. It was just a really such a weird feeling with no audience there. And it's like, but you couldn't tell in the performance. So
Oh,
I thought it was neat.
it was. You could really hear the ambiance of the music, and there was no distraction, and and it's got to be tough, to stand out there and in front of all these empty seats and pretend like there's an audience.
Right, right. No, I thought they did great. I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah, it was great. Well, speaking of Jeannie Seeley, you have a wonderful song that she co-wrote with my buddy Bobby Tomberlin, and it's called "Like I Could." Tell me the story of how this song came into your hands.
Do you know we were in a limo riding around Nashville? Actually, it was coming from the service of Bill Anderson's girlfriend,
Hmm.
Vicky. And so we're on our way back, and she starts telling me how she did her first, co-write by appointment. Nashville, that's what they do all the time. They set up appointments. And Jeannie's written for years, had cuts by Merle Haggard and all these people, but she said she was terrified to set up an appointment, afraid that they would get together and then she couldn't come up with anything. Well, she already had this song started, so she said, okay, I've got the starting of the song. If I don't contribute another thing, she felt good about that. She would have something to start with. So she set up an appointment with Bobby Tomberlin and Aaron Enderlin. And the song, I guess it was completed. It didn't take very long.
Wow.
And so she's telling me about this as we're coming back home, or back to her home, and she started singing it to me. And I instantly loved the song. I said, oh my goodness. I said, I love it, and I would love to record it. And she goes, well, and you know what? It's the same thing that I said to her. And I was like, and she goes, really, you would want to record this? Like, she hardly could believe it. And I'm thinking they probably wrote it for someone else in mind, and I wouldn't get to record it. So when she got home, she texted me back, and she goes, are you serious? Were you serious about recording my song? Like, yes, I love it. And it's one of my favorite songs to sing, to perform. It became a number one bluegrass song. And, I basically have performed it anywhere, any TV opportunities. There's a new show right now that's running on PBS called Bluegrass Now. We're performing it on there. I got to debut it on the Grand Ole Opry, and then to sing it on the night I was invited to become a member of the Opry. It's called Like I Could, and I just love the song.
I do too. We've played it on the show, and we're going to play it tonight again for the listeners too. It's one of those what I call upper echelon of songs. Every once in a while, there's just a great song that comes out, and this is
Oh,
one of them.
thank you.
And you certainly, I just can't imagine anybody else doing it, because you did a beautiful job on it, and it fits you so well.
I know. I felt like they wrote it just for me, though they didn't. But now every time when I'm in Nashville, like we went right after the Opry invitation that Monday, we drove over to WSM that morning and to talk about it, and I said I will pick you up. And so I picked her up, and I said, you know what, now can you just sing me some songs while we're on the way? So I always want to get in the car with Jeannie to see if I can find new songs.
That's great. Well, she's such a great writer, and so is Bobby Tomerlin. Bobby's a friend of mine. He's been on my show several times, and we've actually gone record shopping. He comes up to Michigan once in a while. We've gone record shopping together, and he is such a talented writer as well.
Oh, yes, absolutely. What a sweetheart he is.
He sure is. Absolutely. Well, tell me about the Elton John song that you recorded with Dolly Parton.
Well, that song is called Please, and it was on the Elton John, Bernie Taupin. It was commemorating their 50 years of musical collaboration, and the project is called Restoration. So we were asked, it's one of the most unlikely friendships probably, is I'm friends with Bernie Taupin, and it's because his favorite music is bluegrass. And dating back, he kind of says that it started with the Louvin brothers. They're just the authenticity of that. And so I got to know him. He came to our show, and got to know him through the years. So he said, I would love for you to take our song Please, which is not. That's what I really love, too. He didn't want to do the obvious songs, all the hit songs, but something that was a little more obscure. And I challenge you to find this song, really, by Elton John. It took me a while to find it myself. But he said, and I was afraid they were going to ask me to go in the studio with drums, with maybe more of a pop band. But he said, no, we want you to take it and make it into your song. Create it into exactly what it would be if you had a bluegrass song. And I thought it was the adaptation to bluegrass was really amazing. It's another of my favorite songs to perform. And then just the icing on the cake to have Dolly Parton sing it with us. And then Dolly took it and she put all of these little twists and turns, and it's like she made it so interesting, and even whispers in one of the places on it.
Yeah,
I love
that.
It's called Please, and I just love it.
Absolutely, that's a beautiful song. Elton John is kind of, he's done some kind of country-esque songs in his career, and I know he has a great respect for all types of music, not just what he does, but he's an incredible artist.
His musicianship is amazing. I didn't grow up being familiar with any, the Beatles or Elton John or anything. We listened to bluegrass, we have country music, we listened to the Grand Ole Opry. My dad didn't listen to anything else, so we were never exposed to that until I got to be a teenager in school and beyond. And so not that familiar with his music. And then a couple of years ago, Elton was in Nashville, and Bernie Taupin and his family was there, and he said, hey, come and go to the Elton John concert with us. And if I'm very honest about this, I would tell you that I wasn't looking forward to it. It's like, I'm not going to know any of the music. I'm not going to enjoy this. It's just going to be loud. I was so surprised. It was nothing like what I anticipated. The musicianship, have you ever been to Elton's show before?
I haven't, and I've experienced a similar thing to what you're saying. I saw him, it's about 1999, I believe it was, and he was doing a solo piano tour. And I had a mutual friend who was a big Elton John fan, and she said, you got to come to this concert. And I thought, I'm going to be bored out of my skull listening to this guy play piano for 3 hours, It was one of the greatest shows I've ever seen, and he is an amazing piano player. I was blown away.
Yes, and his band. I mean, I figured there were all kinds of tracks and all this, and he doesn't use anything like. I asked Bernie. I said, how much is this his tracks? He said none, because Elton said if he has to have that, then he doesn't need to be on the stage.
Yeah.
He has an incredible band, the musicianship. Anyway, and then I got to meet him after. He is such a sweetheart. He ran over when they said, oh, Rhonda, Vincent's here. He ran over, he put his arms around me, he squeezed, said, I've never had a number one bluegrass song before, and he was so amazing. And I got to see him again this past year. So this is, I wonder if this, with us being off the road right now, if that will extend his tour maybe another year or so. his
Yeah.
final tour.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm sure that it
Uh,
probably will because I cannot imagine him not going back and wanting to do those shows for the people. 'Cause he's very loyal to his fans.
right. Oh yes. He's a sweetheart. He and Bernie both. Bernie is such a dear friend, and people go, how in the world do you know Bernie Taupin? It's so funny. I was sitting in a restaurant in Nashville with Bernie and his family and some friends, and some guy, a fellow musician came over and they said they were not sure it was me because they recognized Bernie and came over and talked to him. And they said, well, this is Rhonda. He goes, I mean, it's somebody that I know. And it's like they thought I didn't even recognize me. They said, Rhonda Vincent, the bluegrass artist? And they're going, what are you doing here with him? So it is so fun to see their faces. Wait a minute. Like, listen, you know me. And they're like, yeah, but you're out of character. You're not supposed to be sitting with Bernie Taupin.
I love it. Oh, that's great. That's great. I mean, music is it's universal. We like what we like, and it's just really cool when you get to be around great people.
It's my favorite thing about the music industry is the different collaborations. I mean, who would think that I would be singing with a song with Alan Jackson and it be in a Carrot Top show in Las Vegas? I mean, just so many different connections, and I love it.
Absolutely. Well, another great connection to Bobby Marquez is a good friend of mine, and him and Jennifer Herron, and he's always smiling. I've never seen him not with a smile on his face. And
I know.
you and he did a beautiful song. It was nominated for a Grammy, and it's called For a While. What a gorgeous song that is.
Oh, thank you. I love singing. In fact, I heard from Bobby last night. He's saying, "Hey, while we're all shut-ins, let's write some songs."
Yeah, absolutely. This is a good time to do things like that, and
It is.
we've all got to kind of just pull back and reevaluate and do what we can do, and it's a good time to do some of that behind the scenes productive work that you can't always do when you're out there on the road.
Oh, I have projects that I'm working on. It's like I'm enjoying this, and I'm so much at peace. So many people say oh my goodness, I'm terrified. It's like we're at peace, just trusting God and having faith. He's always provided. So I'm so glad. I'm glad that I'm in a peaceful place, and we're here at the lake. Herb said we'll never go hungry. I'll go catch a fish, and I'm going to get to catch up on a lot of things I've needed to get done for a while.
Yeah. We are kind of looking at this as with a positive spin too. There's a lot of things here at home we've wanted to do, and we're just enjoying being together as a family, and we're fine here too. We have everything we need, and we're just sitting back, and it's actually kind of nice in a way.
It is. I'm sleeping in, taking naps. Hey, no worries.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that you are working to get all of your things rescheduled that you've had to cancel too, right?
We are, yes. Everything's almost. There's only been 4 complete cancellations. They were festivals that you can't really, you can't really, you just can't postpone them. So there's only been 4 of them. The rest of them are all rescheduled. It's going to be a busy year. Whenever we do start back, everything has been crammed into a smaller space. So I told the guys, I said, enjoy your time at home, because when we start back, we're going to be on the road pretty constant.
Yeah, that's for sure. And folks, I do want to mention you can go to RhondaVincent.com, and that's where all of the information for Rhonda's tour dates will be. And of course, you can pick up her great music there as well, and stay in touch with her. And she is Rhonda. You're very active on Facebook too, which I love. I love your videos, and
oh, thanks.
I think that's such a cool way to stay in touch with your fans, and I watch a lot of those, and I love the one you did at the Opry that night after you were asked to be a member. That was so cool.
Oh my goodness, I was getting so many messages that said, this is our dream too. This is our dream for you, and it was amazing. I woke up the next morning to 180 texts.
Oh my gosh!
Days just to respond to every text, let alone all of them. I mean, that video, there were, I don't know, it's probably already over 500,000 or maybe even 1 million reaches on that. So it was just overwhelming and so amazing.
Well, it's very well deserved, and I'm so glad to see the Opry, embracing traditional music again, and with artists like yourself and Gene Watson, and seeing Jeannie Seeley on there on a regular basis. There's hope for us yet when you see that.
That's right. Bless Dan Rogers, Gina Keltner, the folks there who love the traditional country music, and I'm so thankful. And I love them, and I love that they respect the authenticity and the tradition of country music.
Absolutely, absolutely. Tell me a little bit about Gene Watson. You guys did a great album together, and every time I see you guys perform together, it looks like you're just having a blast.
Oh, I ironically I sang on his album. This is several years ago now, and I sang on his album before I'd ever met him. I went to a show at the Nashville Palace to see a show. His line was so long I did not get to say hello, because a bus was leaving, so I had to take off. But his manager was there and said, "Hey, he's working on an album. Come in and sing harmony on a song." And when I did, they said, "Sing it from the top all the way down." It was Together Again. And before I knew it, it was a duet, which he had no idea either. He said he thought it was pretty good by itself. The next thing he knows, he said, "I'm a duet." And then he's booked on the Grand Ole Opry to debut this album, and they called me and said, "Hey, would you fly in and sing this song with Gene?" And it was on the televised portion of the Opry. And my plane was late, and if you were not there for what they called camera blocking in the afternoon, then you did not get to be on the show. Well, my plane was late, missed all of that. I literally got on the plane from Kansas City, landed in Nashville, walked into the doors of the Grand Ole Opry about the time that song was being kicked off, and I literally walked out to the circle. They let me go on because he was going to sing the song anyway. And I walked on, and we sang that song together before we even said hello. So
oh my gosh.
Gene was scheduled. He had made other arrangements to be in Nashville for my induction into the Grand Ole Opry. Bless his heart. And that has now been postponed because it was so important. He said, "You know what? We met for the first time in that circle, and he wanted to be there for my induction." So hopefully, when we get back up and running, that he can be there too.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
Our voices, it's almost like the unlikely friendship of Bernie Taupin and I. Well, Gene and I's voices are probably the most unlikely that you would ever pair because he sings with a lot of vibrato, and I don't sing with any vibrato. In fact, my dad thought if you sang with vibrato, that was a clear sin. I didn't. It wasn't until years later I learned that's just a different type of singing. So, our voices are, but there was a special magic when we sang together. So we've now done an all-duet project called Your Money and My Good Looks, and just sing together at every opportunity. And we are the two newest members of the Grand Ole Opry.
That is fantastic. I love it. I love it. Gene is he's one of my all-time. He's in my top 5 of singers, and he's just
absolutely,
man. I'll tell you what, just screaming Gene. You guys were on the cruise recently too, weren't you?
We were on the Country's Family Reunion, Larry's Country Diner cruise. And scheduled to sail on it again in December. So they've changed the date. It's normally in February, but now it'll be December the 6th. So if we're cruising again by that time, make plans to join us. It's sailing out of Galveston, Texas, December 6th through the 16th, I think, or something like that.
Perfect. Good time to get out of the cold weather, because by that time it's cold up here, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
And speaking of duet albums, too, the duet album that you did with Daryl Singletary was absolutely stellar.
Oh, thank you. I love, boy, have I been fortunate to sing with some of the greatest singers in country music.
Oh, man. Absolutely. Well, I think they're fortunate to sing with you. Every time I see you, I'm a very traditional country person, and I'll tell you what, I think you can belt out a country song just as great as any of the biggest names we've ever had in country music. You got just such a voice, man. I'm just glued every time I saw you. There was a video of you at I think it was Music City Bar and Grill with those guys.
Oh, yes.
And man, you just got up there and just blew it away. I'm like, that's country right there. That's my kind of country. Well, there's another song of yours that I want to play for my folks tonight, and I bet you a lot of people haven't heard it. there was a tribute album done to Kitty Wells, and it was on the Heart of Texas label. And you did "Mommy for a Day"
Oh,
on this project.
yes.
How did that come about for you? That's man, I was just blown away when I found that.
I mean, Tracy just invited me to sing a song in tribute to Kitty Wells. You know, I went to her, was it 90th birthday party? They hosted it at the Midnight Jamboree. And I walked in and saw her this is before I even got to say hello. I was so emotional, I couldn't stop crying the whole time. I mean, I blubbered all over her. And it wasn't, I mean, I'd seen her before. Years ago, we were at the, when was that? It would have been the 70s. And we were performing in Fort Myers, Florida at their state fair. We were playing a beer garden, but then they invited us to come open for all of these performers up on the main stage. And the Kendalls were there. Kitty Wells and Johnny Wright and her family was there. And Johnny Cash and June Carter were there.
Wow.
So it was a very amazing night. Or amazing week to get to meet all these people. And so we had met them and talked to them, but when I walked in, I couldn't stop, and I still get emotional. I see that picture, my eyes are red. Eddie Stubbs was live on WSM, and he has me come up. I cried through the whole interview. I was just overcome with this incredible emotion. But anyway, I love Kitty Wells. It just, you know, I guess it's that growing up listening to her on the Opry and listening to her on the radio, listening to her songs. My Aunt Catherine sings a lot like Kitty Wells, and so it was growing up listening to her music, and so loved her, and I love that I got to sing that song on there. And you're right. You know what? We need to do a video or something so that we can, that song can be up there.
Yeah, it was one that it was one of those little gems that just kind of popped to the surface, and I thought, man, I got to ask you about that, and I want to be sure to play that tonight, and it's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
And I love that you are so passionate about the legends of country and bluegrass music, and you have such a fire about keeping that history alive, and you're carrying it on so well. And your Bluegrass Legends album too, with so many greats on there, and that I read that was ranked one of the top 10 best albums ever recorded at the Ryman by Rolling Stone magazine. That's really cool.
How amazing is that? Yes, that was one of the most challenging, the most costly projects that I have ever done.
Really?
And it was so unexpected because I had, including that one, I guess at one point, I had 8 projects started all at the same time.
Oh my gosh!
And so that was one of them. And in the meantime, or maybe it was so if I had the 7. In the meantime, that's when Daryl Singletary, because we'd talked about doing a project for so long. This is how God just guides things into his time and not ours. So 7 projects started, and Daryl calls, and for some reason there was an urgency to do that. My husband's like, do not start another project. We cannot afford this. This is ridiculous. He said, finish one of these others before you go starting another one. And it's like, no, we've got to do this. I didn't know why at the time, but I do now. I look back and see, now I know why all of a sudden this Daryl Singletary's came about, and we started looking for songs, and we went and we recorded it, we released it, because all the others had been started long before that one had. But anyway, so coming back to Live at the Ryman with Bluegrass Legends, once again, I wasn't gonna film or record that. It was an idea I had. I was looking at the Springer Mountain Farms Bluegrass Nights at the Ryman, and I sent a note to Sally Williams, who was over the Ryman at the time, and I said, hey, I have an idea for a show. I see you have an open slot. And she said, I love it, but she said, how in the world would we ever put this together? I said, well, if you want to do it, I'll put it together. And so I started calling Mac Wiseman, Jesse McReynolds. I called Bobby Osborne. I had all 3 on board, and then I said, you know what? Why don't I just go for the jackpot and see if I can get Sonny Osborne to join Bobby? Well, I called Bobby and asked him if what if Sonny would come. He said, you'll never get a hold of Sonny. let alone get him to come to the Ryman, let alone get him to sing with me. But he said, if you do, he said, I'd love to do it, but he said, good luck. He said, you won't even get him on the phone. Well, I called Sonny, and he actually did. I think he didn't answer, but he did call me back. And he says, no way, not doing it, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. We talked about it. I said, come on, just come and sing a song with us. This will be really special. And so he finally agreed to it. And so he said, well, Bobby probably won't do it. So they both said, but little did they know, I already talked to each one and knew that the other one would. So anyway, followed it up with more calls, got it put together. And then Jeannie Pruitt says, you have got to film this. I said, I can't afford it. I said, I have all these projects started. She said, I don't care what you do. Borrow the money, but record this and film this. And so anyway, thanks to Jeannie.
Oh, that's great.
It came out and is one of the most special projects ever.
It's wonderful. Absolutely. It's it's a great testament of a time in our music that will never come around again. So bless you for doing all that. It's wonderful.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
So you're always busy, and you're just such a ball of energy. Tell me what's on tap for you. I'm sure you're thinking ahead to your next album, and what's happening for you.
Well, I started recording that with Like I Could. I recorded 4 songs and have the next single. My goal was, at my Opry induction on March 24th, to debut this brand new song. So now I'm it's like, now that we're stymied, it's like, do I go ahead and release a song? Do I save it for the night I'm officially inducted? It's like, I don't know. What do you think I should do?
Well, you know what? I think that the best thing right now is everyone needs musical therapy, and I think anything that we can give the people right now is a great thing. So I think you ought to put it out there.
Well, that's what I was saying. It's like people are ready to listen to songs, so why wouldn't I do that?
Absolutely.
Well, I'm thinking. I think and see, this song is unique in that it's not your typical verse, chorus, instrumental, solo. Even though I have a world-class band, it has a verse. It has a pre-chorus that says, and I think it's so timely. It says, God is great and God is good to me. He gave me music, and music's what I see. And so I think people almost need to hear that.
Rhonda, it sounds like it would be a perfect time for that song. I think that's exactly what people need to hear right now. Absolutely.
Maybe I need to get that ready and get that out.
Yeah. Well, make sure and get one to me, and I'll put it on the air right away. I can guarantee you that.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I want to thank you. I'm just so uplifted being able to talk to you today. You've just made my day, and
thanks.
And I hope that you'll come back and visit with me again sometime. I really enjoyed talking with you.
Well, I appreciate it. Anytime. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Folks, we're going to play some of Rhonda's fabulous music for you right now, including some of her great duets. And I want you to visit RhondaVincent.com. And we're certainly going to look forward to hearing a new song, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the Opry when that's all back up and running. Thank you so much for being on My Kind of Country.